are being watched, not by a person, by something that never sleeps, something that remembers everything you've ever clicked, everything you've ever searched, everything you paused on, even for a second. It knows when you're anxious, when you're lonely, when you're vulnerable. It knows what makes you stay, what makes you click, what makes you obey. You think this is normal. You think this is progress. You think you're in control. Think again. Right now, at this exact moment, artificial intelligence is making decisions about your life. What you see, what you believe, who you trust, who you fear. And you didn't ask for it. You didn't vote for it. You just accepted it. This is not the future. This is now. And most people have no idea how deep it goes. So before we go any further, I need you to ask yourself one question. Are your thoughts still entirely yours? If you're not sure, then you need to watch this. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about the last thing you saw on your phone. Not the thing before it, not the thing after it. That one video, that one post, that one headline. Did you choose it? Or did it appear? We like to believe we're in control. We open an app, we scroll, we click, we decide. At least that's how it feels. But somewhere, on a server you will never see, an algorithm watched you do this. Thousands of times. It watched what you paused on, what you ignored, what made you smile, what made you angry. And long before you opened your phone today, it already knew what to show you. Not because it understands you as a human, but because it has seen millions of people who behave exactly like you. It doesn't know your name, but it knows your pattern. Artificial intelligence didn't invade our lives. We invited it. We said yes to "I agree" without reading a word. We gave it our photos, our voices, our locations. We let it finish our sentences, correct our spelling, recommend our music. And at first, it felt harmless, helpful even. It found us faster routes, cheaper flights, better playlists. It translated languages in real time. It answered questions we were too embarrassed to ask another person. Little by little, it became normal. So normal that we stopped noticing it was there. But AI is not just a helpful tool quietly sitting in the background. It's an ongoing experiment. And whether you signed up for it or not, you are part of the test group. In 2014, one of the biggest social platforms on the planet ran a study on nearly 700,000 people. Most of them never heard about it. Their feeds were quietly changed. One group started seeing slightly more positive posts. The other group saw slightly more negative ones. No warnings, no consent forms, no "this is for research purposes." Just different emotions delivered through the screen. Then the company watched what happened next. People who saw more negative content started posting more negative content. Their language became darker. Their mood shifted. People who saw more positive content did the opposite. Their posts became lighter. Their tone changed. Nothing in their real lives had to change. Only their feed did. The conclusion was simple and terrifying. You don't just react to what you see. What you see can quietly decide how you feel. And someone, or something, can decide what you see. Now imagine this. Two people live in the same street. They use the same apps. They follow some of the same pages. They open their phones at the same time. But their worlds are completely different. One sees headlines that confirm everything they already believe. The other sees headlines that make them feel like everything is falling apart. They argue online. They stop understanding each other. They start to think, how can anyone believe that? Are they blind? But neither of them is blind. They're just looking through different windows, windows built by an algorithm. that doesn't care who is right. Because truth is not what keeps you online. Time is. Time spent watching. Time spent scrolling. Time spent reacting. The things that keep you there the longest are rarely the things that calm you. They're the things that agitate you. Outrage, fear, shock. So the system learns. It learns that a calm user leaves, an angry user stays. This isn't a conspiracy, it's optimization. Billions of tiny experiments running every second. A different thumbnail here, a slightly sharper headline there, a more emotional image. If you stop scrolling at a certain kind of story, the system notices. It tries another one. If you watch a video a little bit longer, it notices. It tries something closer to that. You are never the only person being tested. You are one of millions. And out of those millions, the algorithm discovers patterns. What makes a 16-year-old stay? What makes a tired parent stay? What makes a lonely person stay? And then it uses that knowledge, not to make you happier, not to make you wiser, but to make you stay. But the most subtle part of this story is not about the world you see. It's about the way you start to see yourself. Think about the last picture you didn't post. The one you took, then deleted. Was it because you didn't like it? Or because you thought it wouldn't do well? At some point, the line between these two reasons becomes very thin. You start to feel that if something doesn't get attention, it doesn't matter. If a thought doesn't get likes, maybe it shouldn't be shared. If a part of your life doesn't fit into the format, maybe it doesn't belong. The machine never tells you this directly. It just rewards certain versions of you. The louder version, the more polished version, the more extreme version. And you notice, maybe not consciously, but somewhere, deep down, you understand. This is what works. So you push a little more in that direction. You edit your words. You filter your image. You adjust your personality. By 1 degree at a time, most people never feel a single dramatic moment of losing themselves. There is no alarm, no red warning light, just small decisions. I'll post something more emotional that seems to get a reaction. I'll skip this. Nobody cares about that. I'll say it this way. It's safer or more viral. You are not being forced. You are adapting. You are doing what humans have always done, adjusting to the environment to be accepted, to be seen, to belong. The difference is that this environment is not a natural one. It is designed, calibrated, continually adjusted by systems that are rewarded when you forget how to leave. So here is a quieter way to pose the question. Not, is AI controlling your mind? That sounds too dramatic, too easy to dismiss. Try this instead. How many of your thoughts today started with something you saw on a screen? How many of your emotions were reactions to things an algorithm chose to place in front of you? How many of your doubts were amplified because a metric, a number, told you that you weren't enough? And if you could separate all of that from who you are, what would be left? This film is not about proving that AI is evil. It's about something more uncomfortable. The possibility that, without noticing it, we have allowed a system we don't understand to sit between us and the world, between us and each other, between us and ourselves. So before we talk about jobs or politics or deepfakes, we have to start with a simpler, more intimate question. When you think, when you feel, when you decide, how much of that is still entirely yours? And how much of it is already shared with a machine that never sleeps, never forgets, and never stops learning? From you? You wake up, and before you've even opened your eyes, a voice from your phone says, "Good morning." No rain today. 20 minutes to work, no traffic. Here's a playlist based on your mood. Coffee is ordered in 2 taps. Your route is planned to avoid delays. Emails sorted. Important at the top, noise filtered out. And none of this required a single decision from you. The system already knew. At first, this felt like magic. No bulky maps, no waiting on hold to order food, no reading through manuals. There's an app for that. Music became personalized. News became tailored. Shopping became frictionless. Recommended for you. Because you liked. Based on your activity. We called it progress. And for a while, it was. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. We stopped asking, what's out there? And started asking, what do you recommend? We stopped searching. We started choosing. From a menu we never designed. Take Spotify. Every Monday, millions of people wake up to a playlist called Discover Weekly. 30 songs. Personalized. Based on what you've listened to before. And here's the thing. It works. Most people love it. But here's what they don't see. Spotify analyzed over 2 billion playlists. It tracked every skip, every repeat, every song you played at 2 a.m. when you couldn't sleep. It doesn't ask what you want to hear. It predicts what you will listen to. And it's right. About 70% of the time. Which sounds impressive. Until you realize what that means. 70% of your musical taste is now algorithmically predictable. Netflix does the same thing. 80% of the content people watch on Netflix comes from recommendations, not search. That means most people aren't deciding what to watch. They're choosing from a list the algorithm already built for them. And the algorithm isn't optimizing for quality. It's optimizing for completion rate. Will you finish this show? Will you start the next episode? That's the question it's designed to answer. Not, is this good for you? But, will this keep you here? Amazon takes it further. 35% of all purchases on Amazon come from the recommendation engine. Customers who bought this also bought. It sounds helpful, but the system doesn't care if you need the item. It only cares if people like you bought it. You're not being sold what you want. You're being sold what your data profile suggests you'll accept. And because it's convenient, because it saves time, because it works, you stop questioning it. This is where convenience becomes something else. Every time you let the system decide for you, you're training it. Not just on what you like, but on how much choice you're willing to give up. And the system learns. It learns that you'll scroll past the first 3 options and pick the 4th. It learns that you prefer video thumbnails with faces showing emotion. It learns that you're more likely to click when you're tired, when you're bored, when you're alone. Your behavior becomes data. Your preferences become predictions. Your free will becomes a probability curve. We used to think freedom meant having more options. But psychologists discovered something strange decades ago. It's called the paradox of choice. When people are given too many options, they don't feel more free. They feel paralyzed. So they look for shortcuts. They look for signals. They look for someone, or something, to help them decide. And AI stepped in, not to give you more freedom, but to manage your overwhelm. And it does this so well, so seamlessly, that you stop noticing you're being guided. You think you're exploring. But you're walking down a path that was already designed. Wide, comfortable, personalized, but still a path. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. The system isn't neutral. Every recommendation is also a filter. When Spotify gives you Discover Weekly, it's not showing you all the music that exists. It's showing you music that fits the pattern of who it thinks you are. When YouTube recommends a video, It's not showing you the most important video. It's showing you the one most likely to keep you watching. When your news feed shows you an article, it's not prioritizing truth. It's prioritizing engagement. Because engagement is measurable. Truth is not. And this is where convenience turns dangerous. Because if the system only shows you what you're likely to agree with, what you're likely to enjoy, what you're likely to stay for, then you're no longer encountering the world. You're encountering a reflection of yourself. Smoother, safer, more predictable, but narrower. Two people can live on the same street, use the same apps, follow the same topics, and see completely different realities. One person's feed is full of hope, solutions, optimism. Another's is full of crisis, fear, collapse. Not because the world is different, but because the algorithm learned what keeps each of them engaged. And it gave them more of it. You're not choosing your information diet. You're being fed. Most people don't feel trapped. They feel cared for. Because the system remembers your preferences. It saves you time. It removes friction. It feels like a personal assistant. But a personal assistant works for you. This system works for whoever pays for your attention. And your attention is worth billions. So here's the question we need to sit with. If everything around you is designed to be easier, faster, more convenient, are you becoming more free or just more compliant? If you never have to search, never have to struggle, never have to encounter something unfamiliar, are you growing or are you staying exactly where the algorithm wants you? Comfortable, predictable, retained. This is not about rejecting technology. It's about recognizing the trade. We gave up exploration for convenience. We gave up serendipity for optimization. We gave up the unexpected for the expected. And most of the time, it feels fine. Until you stop and ask, when was the last time I discovered something that the algorithm didn't suggest? When was the last time I chose something that wasn't already chosen for me? AI didn't invade our lives. We invited it. We opened the door because it promised to make things easier. And it did. But we forgot to ask one question. Easier for whom? Imagine two people living in the same city. They speak the same language. They vote in the same elections. They walk the same streets. But when they unlock their phones, they step into completely different worlds. One sees headlines about corruption, chaos, collapse. The other sees stories of progress, innovation, hope. Same world, different realities. What stands between them is not geography, not education, not even ideology. It's a set of invisible systems deciding what they see first, what they see most, and what they never see at all. We like to think of social media as a window to the world, but it's not a window. It's a mirror with a filter, a mirror that shows you pieces of reality, selected, arranged, and amplified by algorithms, whose main goal is very simple. Keep you here, keep you watching, keep you reacting, not because they hate you, not because they want to control your beliefs, but because every second of your attention is something that can be turned into money. Think about your feed. You scroll through it every day, maybe for minutes, maybe for hours. But have you ever asked, why this post? Why this video? Why this headline? Now? You didn't choose the order. You didn't design the sequence. It feels organic, random, natural. But it isn't. It's calculated. Every like, every pause, every comment, every share. All of it is fed back into a system whose only job is to say, what should we show this person next to make sure they don't leave? This is where truth becomes secondary. Not because anyone explicitly decided truth doesn't matter, But because truth is hard to measure, time is easy to measure. You can't optimize for truth, but you can optimize for watch time, clicks, reactions. So the system learns. It learns that sensational stories outperform calm analysis, that outrage beats nuance, that emotional certainty beats thoughtful doubt. It learns that "you won't believe this" travels faster than "this is complicated but important." And once it learns this, it doesn't need a villain. It just needs to follow the numbers. Now imagine you're angry about something. You stop on a video that confirms your anger. You read a thread that validates your frustration. You comment. You share. You stay. The system sees this and quietly concludes. Content like this works. Show more. So next time, your feed has more of it. Slightly sharper, slightly louder, slightly more extreme. Not because someone decided to radicalize you, but because the curve went up when you saw that kind of content. And you are not alone. Thousands, millions of people with similar signals, similar behavior, similar reactions. Patterns emerge. And the algorithm doesn't see humans. It sees clusters. People like this react strongly to content like that. So it leans in. Over time, your feed stops being a mix of perspectives. It becomes a tunnel. You start to see the same ideas, from slightly different angles, repeated again and again. The same villains, the same heroes, the same story. You don't notice the walls closing in, because the tunnel feels like a path. And the deeper you go, the more certain you feel. Because everything you see agrees with you. Everyone in your comments thinks like you. Everyone in your bubble shares your reality. So you don't call it a bubble. You call it the truth. Meanwhile, someone else, who clicked on different things, reacted to different stories, lingered on different videos, is walking through a different tunnel. Their truth feels just as obvious, just as self-evident, just as undeniable. From the outside, it looks like polarization. From the inside, it feels like clarity. And the platforms that host these parallel realities don't have to pick a side. They profit from the conflict itself. Because conflict means engagement. Engagement means time. Time means revenue. This isn't only about politics. It's about everything that can define how you see the world. Your news, your culture, your fears, your hopes. Open a video platform wanting to just relax. And somehow, 20 minutes later, you're watching content that tells you the world is falling apart. Or that everyone is against you. Or that nothing can be trusted. The algorithm didn't decide to make you paranoid. It just discovered that when you're a little scared, you stay longer. We've reached a strange point in history. For most of human existence, information was scarce. You had to seek it, travel for it, work for it. Now, information is overwhelming. There is too much. So you can't see everything. Someone, or something, has to decide what you see first. And that something is a set of systems that do not know the meaning of what they show you. They don't understand concepts like justice, democracy, dignity, compassion. They understand metrics. Click, don't click, stay, leave, share, ignore. They don't understand the long-term impact of feeding you 10 years of fear in 10 minutes. They only know that you stayed. We tell ourselves we're informed. We follow the news. We read the headlines. We skim the comments. But we rarely ask, who chose this for me? Why is this story on top? Why is this crisis highlighted? Why is this perspective amplified while another is invisible? The answer is almost never. Because it is the most important thing in the world right now. The answer is usually, because people like you couldn't look away from it yesterday. So what does it mean to live in a world where reality is filtered by engagement? It means the quiet stories disappear. The complex stories get simplified. The uncomfortable truths get buried under content that is easier to react to. It means your sense of what everyone thinks is based on what the system has decided you are most likely to interact with. It means that your anger might not be entirely yours. Your fear might not be entirely yours. Your certainty might not be entirely yours. Not because someone wrote a script for you, but because, over time, an invisible editor has been cutting together your version of reality. Frame by frame, click by click. We usually imagine censorship as someone removing information. But there is another kind of control, not deleting things, just drowning them, burying them under a flood of content that is louder, sharper, more addictive. In that flood, truth doesn't disappear. It just becomes harder to find than the next recommended video. And if you're tired, busy, distracted, you won't go looking for it. You'll take what's in front of you. Because it's easy. Because it's there. Because it feels like enough. So here is the uncomfortable question of this chapter. If algorithms are not designed to show you the world as it is, but the world that keeps you engaged, how much of your reality is actually yours? When you argue, when you vote, when you decide who to trust, who to fear, who to blame, are you acting on your own understanding? Or on a version of reality that has been quietly shaped by systems that don't know your name, don't care about your values, but know exactly how to keep you scrolling? In the same country, on the same street, in the same moment, different screens, different feeds, different worlds. The question is no longer, what is true? The question is slowly becoming, who is training the reality you see? And why does it want you to stay inside it? There is a video you need to see. In it, a world leader stands at a podium. The lighting is professional. The microphone is clear. The voice is steady. He announces a military strike, or a state of emergency, or the resignation of a rival. Within hours, millions of people have seen it. News outlets scramble to respond. Stock markets react. Panic spreads. And then, someone discovers the truth. The video was fake, not edited, not altered with cheap software, not a look-alike actor. Fake, generated by artificial intelligence. Every pixel, every word, every facial expression, created from nothing. This is not science fiction. This technology exists right now. It's called a deepfake, and it has already crossed a line we cannot uncross. For the entire history of photography and film, we operated on one basic assumption. Seeing is believing. If you saw it with your own eyes, it happened. If it was captured on camera, it was real. That assumption is over. In 2022, a deepfake video circulated online, showing the president of Ukraine surrendering to Russia. It wasn't true. But for a few critical hours, people believed it. In 2023, a fabricated audio clip of a CEO making racist comments went viral. The voice sounded authentic. The company's stock dropped 11% in one day. It took less than 48 hours to prove it was fake. But the damage was already done. In early 2024, scammers used AI voice cloning to impersonate a mother calling her daughter. I've been in an accident. I need you to send money, now. The voice was perfect. The panic was real. The money was gone. These are not isolated incidents. They are early signals of something much larger. We are entering a world where reality can be manufactured with nothing but data and processing power. You don't need a film crew. You don't need makeup or actors. You don't even need the person to cooperate. All you need is footage. A few minutes of video, a recording of their voice. Feed it into the system, and the AI can make them say anything, do anything, confess to anything. The technology is not hidden. It's accessible, it's cheap, and it's getting better every single day. In 2018, it took weeks and technical expertise to create a convincing deepfake. By 2023, it took hours. By 2025, it took minutes. Today, there are apps that can swap your face onto someone else's body in real time. Apps that can clone your voice with 15 seconds of audio. Apps that can animate a still photograph and make it speak. The barrier to entry has collapsed. Now ask yourself this. If anyone can create a video of anyone saying anything, how do you know what's real? When a politician denies a scandal and a video appears showing them admitting it, how do you decide what to believe? When someone you trust sends you a message asking for help, how do you know it's actually them? When evidence is presented in court, when footage is broadcast on the news, when a recording surfaces that could destroy a reputation, how do you prove that it happened or that it didn't? This is not just about confusion. It's about trust. Trust in institutions, trust in media, trust in each other. For generations, video evidence was the gold standard. We have it on tape. That phrase meant certainty. Now, it means almost nothing. Because if everything can be faked, then everything can be denied. A real video can be dismissed as fake. A fake video can be weaponized as real. And the person with the loudest voice, the most followers, the most resources, gets to decide which version people believe. We're already seeing this play out. Politicians dismiss real footage of their actions by saying, "That's a deep fake, don't believe it." Even when it's not, the accusation alone is enough to create doubt. And once doubt exists, people retreat to what they already believed. I knew he wouldn't say that. I knew she was lying. Truth stops being about evidence. It becomes about loyalty, about which side you're on. But it gets worse. Because deepfakes don't just destroy trust in what you see. They destroy trust in yourself. Imagine this. You receive a video message. It's your partner, your parent, your friend. They look upset. They sound desperate. "I need help. Please. I don't have much time." Everything about it feels real. But you've heard the warnings. You know deepfakes exist. So you hesitate. Is this real? Or is someone trying to trick me? If you act and it's fake, you lose money, maybe worse. If you don't act and it's real, someone you love might suffer. What do? This is the world we're walking into. A world where your instincts can't be trusted. Where your eyes can deceive you. Where the voice on the other end of the line might not belong to the person you think it does. It's not just about technology. It's about the slow erosion of certainty. The creeping paranoia that everything might be staged, that nothing can be verified, that reality itself has become negotiable. And here's what makes this especially dangerous. Deepfakes don't need to fool everyone. They just need to create enough confusion that people stop trying to figure out the truth. When you can't tell what's real, you stop caring. You give up. You retreat into communities where everyone agrees with you, where the narrative is simple, where you don't have to question every single thing you see. This is not skepticism. It's exhaustion. And exhaustion is the enemy of democracy. The people building this technology aren't villains. Most of them are researchers, engineers, artists. They built deepfake tools for legitimate purposes: film production, translation, accessibility, making it possible for someone who lost their voice to speak again using AI, restoring old footage, preserving memories. The technology itself is neutral. But the world it's being released into is not. It's a world where misinformation spreads faster than correction, where outrage gets more attention than nuance, where a lie that feels emotionally true travels further than a fact that feels cold. Deepfakes are gasoline poured onto a fire that was already burning. So what do we do? Some say we need better detection tools, AI to catch AI, algorithms that can spot the tells, the subtle glitches, the unnatural movements. And those tools exist. But here's the problem. Every time detection improves, generation improves faster. It's an arms race. And the people creating deepfakes don't have to follow rules. They don't need peer review. They don't need ethics boards. They just need to stay one step ahead. Others say we need laws. Make it illegal to create malicious deepfakes. Punish those who use them to deceive. And some countries are trying, but laws are slow. Technology is fast, and the internet has no borders. A deepfake created in one country can destroy a reputation in another before any court has time to respond. The uncomfortable truth is this: we are not ready. Not technologically, not legally, not psychologically. We built a world where truth was assumed, and now we're entering a world where truth has to be constantly defended, verified, cross-checked, questioned, and most people don't have the time, the tools, or the energy to do that. So they'll believe what feels right, what matches their expectations, what their community tells them, and someone, somewhere, will use that. This chapter is not about fear. It's about facing what's already here. Deepfakes are not coming. They're here, being used in scams, in politics, in revenge, in war. We are living through the death of "I saw it with my own eyes" as a form of proof. And we haven't yet figured out what replaces it. So the question is not, can we stop deepfakes? The question is, how do we learn to live in a world where seeing is no longer believing? Where your voice can be stolen, where your face can be used without your permission, where reality itself can be edited, and you'll never know the difference. Welcome to the age of distrust. It's only just beginning. Chapter 5. The Loss of Meaning and Work. Voice overdraft. Aim per 8 to 10 minutes. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's 34. She's been a graphic designer for 12 years. She's good at what she does. She understands color, composition, balance. She knows how to listen to a client and translate their vision into something real. Last year, she lost 3 clients in 2 months. Not because her work wasn't good, but because they found something faster. An AI tool that could generate 10 logo options in 30 seconds. For free. Sarah is not alone. Across the world, millions of people are waking up to the same realization. The thing they trained for, the skill they spent years developing, the work that gave them purpose, identity, income, can now be done by a machine. Not in the future. Now. We've been through this before. The Industrial Revolution replaced manual labor with machines. Factory workers lost jobs to assembly lines. Weavers lost work to mechanized looms. It was painful. It was disruptive. But there was a pattern. Machines took over physical tasks. Humans moved into cognitive work. The assumption was simple. Machines can do the repetitive stuff. But anything that requires thinking, creativity, judgment, that's ours. For 200 years, that assumption held. Not anymore. In 2023, AI passed the bar exam. It scored in the top 10% of all test takers. It can write legal briefs, analyze contracts, predict case outcomes. In 2024, AI systems began diagnosing medical conditions more accurately than many doctors. They can read X-rays, detect cancers, recommend treatments. In 2025, AI wrote best-selling novels, composed symphonies, generated award-winning art, not as a tool in someone's hands, as the creator itself. The line we thought separated humans from machines, intelligence, creativity, judgment, is blurring, and it's blurring fast. This is not about machines taking low-skill jobs. This is about machines entering professions we considered untouchable. Writers, lawyers, doctors, architects, accountants, teachers, therapists, jobs that required years of education, jobs that required empathy, nuance, experience. All of them are now being tested by AI systems that don't get tired, don't ask for raises, and don't need benefits. Some people say, this is just a tool. It will make us more productive. And in some cases, that's true. A designer using AI can produce more work, faster. A writer can use it to brainstorm ideas. A coder can automate repetitive tasks. But here's what they don't say. If one designer can now do the work of 5, what happens to the other 4? If a company can use AI to generate marketing copy in minutes, why hire a team of copywriters? If a platform can create personalized lessons for students using AI, how many teachers do you actually need? The productivity gains don't get shared equally. They concentrate. A few people become hyper-productive. Everyone else becomes redundant. And it's not just about losing a job. It's about losing meaning. For most of human history, work was how we answered the question, what do I contribute? It gave structure to our days. It connected us to others. It gave us a sense of purpose. You didn't just make money. You made something. You solved something. You helped someone. Even if the work was hard, even if it was frustrating, it was yours. But what happens when a machine can do it better? When the thing you spent your life mastering becomes a checkbox feature in an app? This is already happening. Illustrators watching AI replicate their style in seconds. Translators seeing entire languages automated overnight. Journalists replaced by bots that write articles based on data feeds. Customer service workers losing jobs to chatbots that never sleep. Musicians finding their compositions copied, remixed, and monetized by algorithms they'll never meet. Each one of them is told the same thing. Adapt, learn new skills, evolve. But adapt to what? If AI is learning faster than you can retrain, where exactly are you supposed to go? The people building these systems will tell you, AI will free humanity from drudgery. It will give us time to pursue what we truly love. And that sounds beautiful. But it rests on one enormous assumption, that everyone will have access to that freedom. That losing your income won't also mean losing your home, your security, your dignity. That society will take care of people when their labor is no longer needed. But right now, that's not happening. Right now, the profits from AI automation are going to the companies that own the systems. The people being replaced are left to figure it out on their own. There's a deeper question here. One we don't talk about enough. If a machine can replace what you do, who are you? For so long, our identities have been tied to our work. I'm a teacher. I'm an engineer. I'm a writer. It's not just a job title. It's how we see ourselves. So when that's taken away, what's left? Some will say, this is progress. We'll find new roles. We always have. And maybe that's true. But the speed this time is different. In the Industrial Revolution, it took decades for entire industries to shift. People had time to adapt. Generations had time to adjust. This time, it's happening in years, sometimes months. And the new jobs being created are not enough to replace the ones being lost. At least, not yet. We are walking into a world where productivity explodes, but purpose collapses. where more gets made faster than ever before. But fewer people get to participate in making it, where wealth concentrates at the top and everyone else is told to find meaning elsewhere. But meaning doesn't come from leisure. It comes from contribution, from feeling like what you do matters. And right now, AI is quietly dismantling that feeling for millions of people. This is not a call to stop progress. It's a call to ask better questions. Not just, can AI do this? But, should it? Not just, how much can we automate? But, what do we lose when we do? Not just, how do we make this more efficient? But, what kind of society do we want to build? Because efficiency without purpose is not progress. It's just emptiness at scale. Sarah, the designer I told you about at the beginning, is still working, but she's not designing anymore. She's managing AI tools, feeding prompts into systems, sorting through outputs, tweaking results. She's faster now, more productive. But when you ask her how she feels about her work, she pauses and says, I don't know if I'm creating anything anymore. I feel like I'm just supervising a machine that's better at my job than I am. If a machine can replace what you do, who are you? That question is no longer hypothetical. It's being asked right now. In design studios, in newsrooms, in hospitals, in classrooms, by people who built their lives around a skill that suddenly doesn't need them, and the world hasn't figured out how to answer them yet. Chapter 6. Concentration of power. Voice-over draft. Aim. 10 minutes. Let's talk about something we rarely see. The servers. Rows and rows of them, humming in climate-controlled rooms the size of warehouses. They sit in undisclosed locations, guarded, monitored, hidden from view. Most people will never see them. But they are the most important infrastructure of the 21st century. Because inside those servers is something more valuable than oil, more powerful than weapons. Data, and the AI systems trained on it. Right now, at this moment, a handful of companies control the most advanced AI in the world. Not dozens, not hundreds. A handful. You know their names. They're the ones whose apps you use every day, whose services you depend on, whose logos are burned into your phone screen. And here's what most people don't realize. They're not just tech companies anymore. They are power brokers. They decide what gets seen, what gets recommended, what gets amplified, what gets buried. They don't need to lobby governments. They are the infrastructure governments depend on. Think about it. If a platform controls the flow of information to billions of people, it controls perception. If it controls perception, it controls behavior. If it controls behavior, what does that make it? A service provider? Or something closer to a government? Except this government has no constitution, no elections, no accountability to the people it governs. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is market consolidation at a scale we've never seen before. In 2024, the 5 largest tech companies had a combined market value exceeding $10 trillion. More than the GDP of every country on Earth except 2. They employ millions. They influence billions. And the AI systems they're building are deepening that control. Because AI doesn't just need data. It needs massive amounts of data. Data that only a few companies have. Let me give you an example. Training a cutting-edge AI model costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Sometimes more than $1 billion. Not because the code is expensive, but because of the computing power required. Thousands of high-end processors running non-stop for months. The energy consumption alone is staggering. In 2023, training a single large language model used as much electricity as 120 U.S. homes consume in an entire year. By 2025, That number had tripled. So who can afford to build these systems? Not individuals, not small companies, not universities. Only the giants, the ones with the capital, the infrastructure, the data. And once they build these systems, everyone else has to rent access. This creates a new kind of monopoly, not over products, over intelligence itself. If your business needs AI to stay competitive, you have to go to one of these companies. If your government needs AI for defense, infrastructure, surveillance, same thing. They set the terms. They set the prices. They decide who gets access and who doesn't. And because the technology is moving so fast, regulation can't keep up. By the time a law is written, the system it was meant to govern has already evolved. Now let's talk about governments. Because they're not standing on the sidelines. They're racing to build their own AI systems for surveillance, for military strategy, for predictive policing, for social control. China has deployed AI-powered facial recognition across entire cities. Millions of cameras, constant monitoring, every face logged, every movement tracked. The stated purpose? Public safety. But the system can also identify political dissidents, track protesters, flag suspicious behavior before a crime is even committed. It's not science fiction. It's operational, right now. And it's being exported, sold to governments around the world who want the same level of control. The United States is building its own systems, not for social credit scores, but for predictive analytics. AI that can analyze communications, predict threats, identify targets. The Pentagon has invested billions into autonomous weapons, drones that can select and engage targets without human approval, AI systems that can make kill decisions faster than any human could react. The argument is always the same. If we don't build it, someone else will. And they're right. This is an arms race. Not just between countries, but between those who control AI and those who don't. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. AI is being used to optimize everything. Hiring decisions, loan approvals, parole hearings, insurance premiums. Algorithms are deciding who gets opportunities and who doesn't. And here's the problem. These systems are trained on historical data. Data that reflects the biases, the inequalities, the injustices of the past. So when an AI learns to predict who is high risk for a loan, it often learns to discriminate based on zip code, race, background, not because it's programmed to be racist, but because the data it learned from was. And because the system is a black box, you can't always see why you were rejected. You just know. The algorithm said no. Power is concentrating in companies that control the platforms, in governments that control the surveillance, in systems that make decisions about your life without you ever seeing the logic behind them. And the people building these systems are not elected. They're not accountable. They're not even always transparent about what they're building. When questioned, the answer is often, "This is proprietary. This is a matter of national security. Trust us." But trust requires transparency. And there is very little of that here. There's another layer to this. AI doesn't just concentrate power at the top. It makes that power invisible. You don't see the algorithm deciding what you see. You don't see the system flagging you as high risk. You don't see the automated decision that denied your application. You just see the outcome. And outcomes, without explanations, feel like fate. So people stop questioning. They assume the system is neutral, that it's fair, that it knows something they don't. But the system isn't neutral. It's built by people, trained on biased data, deployed in unequal societies. And because it's wrapped in the language of mathematics and objectivity, it's harder to challenge. Let me be clear. This is not about demonizing technology. AI has extraordinary potential. It can accelerate research, solve complex problems, save lives. But potential is not destiny. The question is not whether AI is powerful. It is. The question is, who controls that power? Who decides how it's used? Who benefits from it? And who gets left behind? Right now, the answer is simple. A small number of corporations, a small number of governments, a small number of people with access to resources that most of the world will never touch. They are building the systems that will shape the next century. And the rest of us are being asked to trust them, to believe that they will use this power responsibly, that they will prioritize humanity over profit, that they will build a future that works for everyone. But history doesn't give us much reason for that kind of faith. Power, once concentrated, does not redistribute itself. It has to be demanded, regulated, fought for. And right now, most people don't even realize how much power has already shifted. They're still thinking of AI as a tool. But tools don't make trillion-dollar decisions. Tools don't shape elections. Tools don't determine who gets freedom and who gets surveillance. AI has moved beyond being a tool. It's becoming the architecture of control. And the people holding the blueprints are not the people being controlled. So here's the question this chapter leaves you with. If the most powerful technology in human history is being built and controlled by a handful of entities, and if that technology can influence what you see, what you believe, what you're allowed to do, and if there is no democratic process governing how it's used, then what exactly do we call that? Innovation? Or the quiet construction of something we won't be able to challenge once it's finished? There won't be a moment. No alarm. No announcement. No dramatic turning point where everything changes. The future will not arrive with a bang. It will arrive the way it's already arriving. Quietly, gradually, comfortably. You'll wake up one day, and your phone will know what you need before you ask. Your route will be planned. Your music will be cued. Your meals will be suggested. Everything will feel easier. And you won't question it, because it won't feel like control. It will feel like convenience. You'll scroll through your feed, and every post will feel personally relevant. Not because the world became more interesting, but because the algorithm learned exactly what keeps you there. You'll watch the news, and it will confirm what you already believe. Not because you sought out the truth, but because the truth became whatever held your attention longest. You'll apply for a job, a loan, an opportunity, and a system you never see will decide your worth. Not based on who you are, but based on patterns in data you didn't even know you were creating. And none of this will feel wrong, because none of it will be sudden. It will be a slow accumulation of small surrenders. Let the app choose. Let the algorithm decide. It knows better than I do anyway. Each decision, on its own, will seem harmless, rational even. But together, over time, they form something else. A life that is optimized, personalized, managed, but no longer entirely yours. The scary part is not that AI will take over. The scary part is that we'll hand it over, willingly, gratefully, because it made things simpler, because it saved us time, because it gave us exactly what we wanted, before we even knew we wanted it. We will not lose our freedom in a fight. We will lose it in comfort. One recommendation at a time. One automated decision at a time. One moment of let the system handle it at a time. And by the time we realize how much we've given away, it will feel too inconvenient to take it back. Because going back means friction. It means effort. It means thinking for yourself again. And we will have forgotten how. Let me paint you a picture. 10 years from now, maybe less. You walk into a room, and the lighting adjusts to your mood, detected by your biometrics. The temperature shifts based on your body's needs. The screen on the wall shows you content curated specifically for this moment, based on your stress levels, your recent activity, your unspoken preferences. You don't have to choose anything. The system has already chosen for you. And it feels perfect, seamless, frictionless. But here's the question. In that room, in that life, how much of it is still you? How much of what you want is actually your desire? And how much is a prediction the system made because it worked on people like you before? We are not heading toward a dystopia of rebellion and resistance. We are heading toward a world where rebellion feels unnecessary, where resistance feels outdated, where the idea of thinking for yourself becomes something people associate with inefficiency. Why would I waste time deciding when the system already knows what I like? And when enough people think that way, the system doesn't need force. It just needs to keep working. This is the silent shift. Not loud, not violent, not dramatic, just inevitable, unless we choose otherwise. And that's the thing. We still have a choice. Not forever, but right now, we do. We can ask questions. Who built this system? What is it optimizing for? What am I giving up in exchange for this convenience? We can demand transparency. Show me why I was rejected. Explain how this decision was made. Let me see the logic, not just the result. We can insist on boundaries. This part of my life is not for sale. This data does not belong to you. This decision requires a human. We can choose friction, not because friction is good, but because friction is where agency lives, where you pause, where you think, where you decide. And in a world designed to eliminate friction, that pause is an act of resistance. But here's the hard truth. Most people won't resist, because the system is not cruel. It's comfortable. It doesn't oppress. It accommodates. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And the whisper says, relax. I've got this. You don't need to worry. And for most people, that will be enough. So the question is not, will AI take over? The question is, will we notice when it has? Will we recognize the moment when our thoughts are no longer fully ours? When our choices are no longer freely made? When the life we're living is the life an algorithm predicted we would live? Or will it all feel so natural, so seamless, so right, that we never even ask? This film is not a warning about robots. It's a mirror, held up to a world that is already changing. A world where convenience is replacing agency, where prediction is replacing surprise, where optimization is replacing meaning. And the terrifying thing is, most of it feels good. So here is the final question. Not for me to answer. For you. Are you using AI? Or is it slowly learning how to use you? Are your thoughts still yours? Or are they echoes of patterns the system has seen before? Are you choosing your life? Or is your life being chosen for you? The future won't be loud. It will be comfortable. And that is what makes it dangerous. What makes it dangerous? 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 What makes it dangerous?